right, welcome back to another episode of the Thanks for Rolling podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jeff. I'm here with my co-host, Pat. Pat, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Doing good on a Monday. And we have a very special guest with us today, someone who has been waiting with bated breath to actually be on the podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself?
So my name is Jameson. Apparently, so they held a poll to see who everybody wanted on the podcast, and one of the top answers was not Jameson. Well, turns out that didn't come to fruition.
That is a true story, actually. Yeah. We did do a poll, and you were one of the answers was not you.
Yeah.
Is now the time where I should let the cat out of the bag and
It was either Jeff
disclose
or
who
Healy.
it was? It was not.
Who was it?
It was Mr. Adam Nash.
Oh, man.
No kidding. Huh.
Dang. Adam just misses me. I miss him too, though.
Are you saying Adam Nash was the person who said not Jameson?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's probably still feels bad about that kickball game last year.
I thought maybe Adam Nash was the number one requested guest.
Nope. Adam said not Jameson.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Jameson.
That's okay.
You can now give Adam the big middle finger
Well,
and say I made it before you did.
Exactly. That's the plan.
So we have a kind of a special episode today. We had a little bit of a competition this weekend where we had 4 teammates competing. Pat, you want to give us the lay of the land?
Yeah, so this was a professional style grappling event. So as opposed to your typical jiu-jitsu tournaments like a Naga or a Grappling Industries where it's a bracketed format with everyone separated by their ranks and weight and age and all that stuff. It was a quote-unquote super fight format, which I'll get into why that grinds my gears a little bit later in the podcast. But, your super fight format is everyone has a specific opponent set out in advance. So you know who you're going against. You have your one match. There's only one match going on at a time, and everybody's watching you. So it changes the dynamic quite a bit from just competing at like a Grappling Industry. So this was Jameson's first time competing in a format like this. So I thought it would be cool to finally get him on the podcast to talk about, his feelings on how it went down, kind of what the differences were in his preparation and the nerves going into it, and kind of his feelings on how this whole thing went out.
Yeah, so in terms of preparation, I kind of roll almost every round, every class anyway, so that didn't really change that much. I've been a little bit heavier lately than when I first started jiu-jitsu a little over 2 years ago, so I actually had to sort of watch what I was eating to make sure that I made weight. Haha, kind of funny. We'll get back to that.
To be determined.
But in terms of nerves, I don't really think that I felt any nerves leading up to it. I think logically, obviously I wanted to do well just because who wouldn't? I think probably like 2 hours before the event actually started is when I first got like a little bit of like butterflies. I was thinking about like, oh God, this isn't a boxing ring. I'm going to walk up the stairs and trip over the rope getting into the ring. So that was a little nerve wracking. And Marissa Bell, she was sitting across from me at the lunch table, and I kind of like had fun with that because she was nervous. So I came up with a bunch of scenarios where you just totally biff the walkout. But oh yeah, and
Everyone made it down the aisle though.
Yep.
Smoothly.
For the most part,
So how'd you like the difference in having just one opponent, one match to prepare for versus a tournament or a round robin style like you're used to?
Well, I think in terms of like stamina, like I didn't feel like I needed as much stamina just because it was one match. I really couldn't get any scouting on my opponent, so like I was sort of going into it blind, which is probably for the best, just because like I feel like if somebody has like, I mean, obviously people post their highlights on social media, so you go and watch somebody else's page and it's just them getting like submissions at local tournaments, and then you're like, oh God, I got to defend this.
Yeah, unless you can find full matches and really do your own analysis on what they're doing well and what they're not doing well, but it also depends on you as the competitor too. I know some people like to get into the nitty gritty of what their opponent likes to do, and other people are just like, fuck it, I'm just going to do my game.
But yeah, I mean, going into it, like, I kind of just assumed that my opponent was going to be like traditional smash pass wrestling style, just because it's like he trained at a school that does gi, and I feel like they're not really with a lot of the leg lock stuff, things of that nature. So I feel like it wasn't something that I was unprepared for.
Yeah. How do you feel on your performance on the match? So I guess to back that up, so we went in, it was supposed to be a submission only match, right? And we were told if there's no submission at the end of the time period, it would be a draw. So we're like, that's fine. I have nothing against the draw, right? If it's submission only and no one gets a submission, it's logical for it to be a draw. So that suddenly changed. And Jameson dropped a decision that I thought was really close. I feel like it could have gone either way. It depends on what criteria the judge or the ref, whoever makes the decision, is weighing more heavily. So on record, we took the L, but I have my feelings on your performance, but I'd like to hear what you thought about it first.
Well, I mean, I certainly could have done a better job of commanding a more dominant position. I played the majority of the match on bottom. In fact, I pulled guard within the first 10 seconds. But I mean, he just sort of out-wrestled me for the most part, and I was recovering guard to attempt some submissions that unfortunately didn't work out. But, a lot of the things that I've been working on, I got to those positions and was able to at least, play my game. But, definitely clear things that I can build upon and work forward towards. Definitely hats off to my opponent. He did very well maintaining dominant position, which, in the eyes of the judges, that was the important part.
Right. I feel like if, anyone that's trained with you or watched you roll, there was no surprise in what your game plan is and what you were doing during the match, which I think is awesome. Some people have a hard time taking what they do in the gym and using it in competition. So for me, I'm always happy to see people make that translation. The stuff they do in practice, whether you win or you lose, if you're out there sticking to your game plan and going for your positions and your strengths, then, that's the best we can do. We, in that moment, we can't change what the other guy does. We can't change if they're better than us, if they're not as good as us. All we can do is go out there and try to execute our game plan. So I was happy to see you go out and compete the way that I see you training all the time, regardless of, how the decision went down. And to me, it looked like a very classic matchup you see. It's like you got your guard playing person that's hunting the submissions, and you have your top player that's focusing more on dominant position and passing. And, ideally, as the levels go up, you need to marry those together and have all of it. But I think as you go through like the mid levels of jiu-jitsu, you see this matchup all the time. And I think the winner just comes down to what criteria that event is weighing more heavily.
Yeah, he did a good job of preventing me from cutting the angle when I was in guard.
Yep.
So, made submission attempts difficult.
Yeah, he was working the whole time. He wasn't one of those guys looking to just hunker down and stall out on top. He was constantly trying to pass and putting the pressure on you. You were having to spend a lot of time recovering your guard, trying to off balance, find your angles. You had some good opportunities.
Yeah, got close on an arm bar. Initiated a couple leg entanglements. Finishing mechanics need some work, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't put much of a focus on the leg lock game until very recently. So, just your ability to even get as far as you did down the path of attacking his legs was cool to see. Adding new tools to the game.
Yeah, for sure. And, certainly maybe I'll try to put more of an emphasis on not being on bottom, work on my wrestling, stop being known as the foot sweep guy. Yeah, I recently attended a seminar down in Connecticut, and people there, like I'm sure anybody who follows Pat knows, he's posted some videos recently. People there know me as the foot sweep guy because I am, in fact, the guy that is seen hitting the mats because of Pat.
Were you guys surprised, like when you're standing up there at the end of the match, were you surprised when he actually raised the other guy's arm? I don't mean because you felt you won, but just because somebody was being declared a victor.
I didn't really put too much thought into it. I mean, I don't know. To be honest, in terms of like the process and procedure and like what the rules of the tournament were gonna be, they were never all that clear in the first place. So, yeah, I mean, he was on top. I get it.
I mean, I had asked you, Pat, like I think a week or two ago, like, well, are they going to OT or what are they doing?
Right.
And, like specifically had this conversation, right? And you said like, no, they're going to go up. We're just going to end up with a tie.
They had a rules meeting right before the first match, and nobody in there knew how long the matches were. It was like they were like, is it 8 minutes? Is it 10 minutes? I don't know.
Yeah, one ref said 8 minutes. The other one looks at him and says, I thought 10 minutes. And they left the room and said they'd figure it out. And next thing you know, matches are getting called up. So Jameson was the third match.
Yeah.
The first two went pretty quick, I think. I didn't watch them because I was backstage with Jameson.
You were actually the second match.
It was
Oh,
the
I was
second.
the second
you
match?
were supposed to be the third, and actually, I don't know what happened to that one in the middle,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Because I just remember thinking it went really quick.
yeah,
We're like first match up, and suddenly Jameson's getting called up. So
yeah, that's why.
we get out there. I go in. My coach's corner seat was right next to the timekeeper. So when I coach, I always set a timer on my phone for the time limit so I can just track on my own. So I asked the guy, how long are we doing? Because we didn't know. So that's when we found out that it was 8 minutes.
So were you surprised then when you saw the other guy's hand raised? Again, not because of his performance, but just because you were expecting it to be a draw?
100%. Like you said, we talked about this. I have text messages with the promotion where I said, I don't care. I don't care if it's sub only. I don't care if it's points, overtime, no overtime, decision. We just need to know. So I asked, at the end of the time limit, is it a judge's decision? And I was told, no decisions, submission only or draw. And we're like, okay, that's cool. So Jameson's match is over. I'm like, great job. I get up, I go over. I'm waiting at the stairs to the ring to collect Jameson when he comes out and shake the other guy's hand and their coaches and all that stuff. And we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And then I hear, you're a winner by ref's decision. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when you stood up and then like they announced it, I was like, wait, did he get submitted and I couldn't see it? Right? It was really strange.
Yeah, I had a trap triangle position.
Yeah. But we were we weren't sure what was happening.
Yeah.
Why all of a sudden did that guy's arm get raised? But it was weird to see because we were under the same expectations. Do you think your approach to the match would have been different if you had known?
No, I played the stuff that I do in the gym. I really don't think. I'm not that great at wrestling, so especially considering the circumstances of the match, I think my strategy would have remained the same. The guy was 20 pounds bigger than me, so which is definitely another thing about the event that was kind of iffy.
That sounds a little odd, Jameson, that your opponent was that much heavier than you. Isn't the whole point that you guys should be the same weight?
Yeah, so I actually found that out after I weighed in. So I weighed in, we had an agreed upon 170, and I kind of had a nice light breakfast. I've been watching what I was eating, so I didn't weigh above the weigh-in. And I met my opponent, and he's like, oh, you agreed to this? And I was like, agreed to what? And he's like, dude, I weigh 190. I haven't been 170 since high school. And I was like, really? Yeah, I thought you looked a little big. And, that was that. Definitely still going to have the match just because, why would I show up and then not have a match? But
yeah, so for me trying to, take my lessons from this whole experience, because I tried to take on the manager role for all these guys instead of, I've dealt with promotional stuff enough, both on the competitor side and also as an event promoter. I've, partnered up with Travis at Fairfield. We've put on 3 professional grappling events. We did the team challenge here. So I've had enough experience on both sides of it. I'm like, you know what? Things can get a little too loosey-goosey on, to have first-time competitors dealing with this stuff. So I took on the work, try to be the manager, set up all the matches, try to get very clear in writing the agreements, the weights, the rules, all this stuff to avoid what happened. And I just had this feeling in the back of my mind that we were going to get there that night and have some problems with this stuff. And, some of it's understandable. It's their first time running this event. So there will be some hiccups. my biggest point of contention is some of these are very important agreements that there needs to be some kind of integrity behind. When it comes down to what's the rule set, how do you win the match, and what weight are we competing at? It's not fair to have a blue belt competitor show up and be like, sorry, your guy's 20 pounds heavier. Either take the match or don't. That's not fair to Jameson.
I certainly don't want to take anything away from my opponent, though. He definitely
No, it's not his fault.
Not his fault.
Yeah.
Right.
It sounds like he was very clear with them that he was 190 pounds, not 170. And they came to me and said, we have a guy at 170 pounds. So,
Yeah.
Somewhere communication was dropped. None of the blame goes on him. Because like you said, he doesn't look like a guy that tried to get to 170 and just came in a little bit heavy because he was lazy. He's just a bigger guy. He's not a 170.
Yeah, no, I think him and I were told different things, I think.
Exactly.
So, but in regards to my strategy, I think my strategy would have remained the same, for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe yours would have been, but my coaching strategy and our preparation going into this would have been different.
Yeah.
If we had known there was a decision and had known they're going to weigh more heavily on positional control, or even if they didn't tell us that, I probably would have just assumed it because you see it all the time.
Yeah.
I would have been kind of steering you more towards using your guard to sweep and get on top instead of, throwing up every submission opportunity you find.
For sure.
It's not going to change your whole game. You're still probably going to go out there and pull guard. You're going to try to use your lockdown, your reverse Kimura, all that stuff. But, if we redirected some of that towards getting a sweep and getting on top, it could have made the difference. And you know what I told them? The wins and losses, they don't really matter. But getting a fair shake at competition is the important thing.
Yeah. Well, I felt like my opponent and I, we had a good match. We both played our styles, and I certainly learned some stuff from it. So
yeah,
we'll have another match.
It was a great match. I think you certainly picked up a few things that we're going to work on and just keep getting better.
For sure.
Man, you got out there, right? Like, I watched all four of you guys and thought to myself, like, man, kudos to these guys. Like, I mean, I see you guys every time I'm here, right?
Yeah.
But like, it's a whole other world to go out there to compete, first of all, but then to compete with all the eyes on you at one time, right? There's something like, there's a certain anonymity to like being at like Grappling Industries when there's 8 matches going on at one time. I was like, I took solace in that myself, right? I can just go out here, nobody's looking at me, right? But this is a whole different world when you're out there on a boxing ring elevated in the middle of a gym, right?
Yeah, I think there were probably 2 moments like about that sort of stood out for me. And one of them is obviously when you first get up in the ring and you look around and you're elevated above everybody and it's a gym full of people and you're the only match going on. And then the second time where I was like, oh, this is kind of crazy because, all right, so the guy had my back at one point during the match. And I remember I was facing just in the perfect angle to like look right at my mom sitting in the front row and the dude's trying to choke me. And I thought to myself, like, this is the first competition that I've had anybody come watch. And of course, like, this dude's trying to choke me and my mom's sitting right there. And I'm just like, okay, this guy's not going to choke me right now.
Yeah. And that was some of my criticism to the event as well. So, like a lot of regional MMA and grappling promotions, they run on the model of having the competitors sell the tickets. So Jameson sold a shitload of tickets, like $1,100 in tickets.
Yeah, I sold 23 tickets.
Yeah, so he sold a lot of tickets. The competitors get a chunk back, so that's cool. I love the model for that reason. Work as hard as you want to, sell some tickets, make some money. But we also gave them a solid chunk of money, and then to have all of your friends and family show up and everything's not as it was agreed to be.
Yeah.
And like I said, you might not be that upset about it, but as a coach and trying to, set our guys up with the best opportunities, it really irked me.
Well, I definitely think from a business standpoint, it's not a sustainable thing to keep having if you host tournaments like that and have that happen all the time. However, personally, when I think about it, I mean, if I devote any more energy to it, it's going to do nothing but hurt me. So just forget about it, move on.
Yeah, I agree. Going back to the moment where Jameson had his back taken, he's so hard to rear naked choke. I was like, I got like 3 seconds to take a break here.
Yeah.
He's going to get out of this, and I'll get back to coaching him.
Yeah.
It's funny because that was the chatter, like, in the stands. Like, over all your teammates, everyone's like, well, that's not going anywhere.
The whole crowd's like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he's good.
Yeah, I definitely, that position, see, the thing about that position is attacks are very predictable. So I know what you're trying to do. You know, whichever arm is above my shoulder is the one trying to choke me. Mm-hmm. So as long as I stop that, and then, you know, occasionally somebody will throw a leg over your shoulder. But, you know, you got to get the right position to do that. That's tough to do.
I always think that position becomes more of a dogfight, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're both fighting the same exact thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, you know, we try to work on specific setups on the back to try to avoid that kind of dogfight. You know, the random hand fighting and hoping you're going to get a choke. You know, as soon as before you even get the back, you should be trying to run through the playbook and set something up on them. But that usually doesn't happen effectively until you get to the higher levels. So like the guys you're going against most of the time, it's if you can just keep peeling that hand off the neck, you're eventually going to get out.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of effective back attacks are initiated with good entries that you arrive there with like an arm already trapped or something. Mm-hmm. But if I have both my arms,
I like
some people will get me. But
I like that kipping escape you hit into one of your heel hook entries. That was nice.
Yeah, I've been working on that one a lot. I learned that one from a instructional. One of Donaher's new ones coming out, which is focused on attacking straight out of escapes. And I love that one. That one's like, it's so easy and it looks so silly, but it works so well.
There's guys out there that are so good at that sequence that people won't take the mount on them.
Yeah.
Because they know they're going to take the mount in like 3 seconds. They're going to be defending their legs.
Well, like in the gym, like I let people mount me because I go straight to leg locks from it. But
Jameson single-handedly made me level up my mount game in the last couple of months because he was hitting the kipping escape on me so frequently. And I didn't realize it until I was doing my little rolling breakdowns and I'm having to watch it in voiceover. I'm just like, this is so infuriating. Just like in the same round, just over and over and over, just escaping. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but now you kind of got it figured out. So now I got to level up my mount escapes.
It's the way it works, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you guys think that this is not necessarily pertaining to this particular event, but do you think that as a 10th Planet school that there's somewhat of a target on our backs?
I think people expect certain things from 10th Planet schools for sure. Anytime you go to a local tournament, people are like, oh, you got that 10th Planet stuff, huh? Yeah. You're going to be playing that rubber guard. You're doing all sorts of like crazy stuff, which some of us do. Not all of us do the the traditional 10th Planet rubber guard lockdown game. Right. You know, there's definitely some more nuance to it.
I feel like the hatred's not as widespread as it used to be. Like back when I started, even before then, it used to be really bad. I think with how much the association has grown and spread, and every major city just about has a 10th Planet affiliate now. There's a lot more of us around, but I'm also kind of oblivious to what other people often think and say. So, it might just bounce off of me, but at the end of the day, I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some people who think there's some like mysticism there, right? Like, I think I told you the story, like, you do something and the guy's like, oh, is that some 10th Planet thing? Like, no, dude, that was just like your ankles were crossed, right?
Yeah.
Well, like Jameson said, everyone's expecting you to just be a rubber guard lockdown player. And we have so many guys at the gym that don't do any of that. They'll just, pass the guard, top pressure, more traditional style game. So
I definitely think nowadays too, what with the internet, like it's far easier to get a little bit from lots of different instructors.
Yeah, everyone's expanding out on their own.
Sure. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, we definitely, we certainly go over the 10th Planet curriculum.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think you'd be interested in doing another super fight?
Oh, for sure.
Super fight.
I mean, I want to win, so I got to go back out there and get a win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many I'll do. I'll probably do it until my body hurts too much to do it.
You're still a youngster.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're doing it for the next 20 years. You'll be good to go.
Yeah, hopefully, as long as everything goes right.
All right, knock on the wood.
Yeah.
So you want to touch on our other 3 matches?
Yeah, let's do
I
it.
think Jameson hopped in the corner with me on all 3 of them, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So after you was Matt, right?
Yeah.
So Matt's matchup was interesting. So they told me they needed a blue belt heavyweight, and we have a blue belt heavyweight.
It's not me.
Actually, Matt was recently on the podcast. So Matt tips the scales at about 300 pounds. And then we find out who his opponent is, and we look up his grappling industries record, and he usually competes at under 210. But he was a tall guy, looked like he was in really good shape. Matt has done a couple of tournaments, right?
I think he's done 2 or 3.
He's probably only had 5 matches ever, though. You know, so it was definitely an early push for him getting in an event like this, but he wanted to do it, and I think it was great that he took the opportunity.
I think his match went well. I think the way that he got subbed is sort of like one of those ones that you don't really see coming. You're sort of like you think you're safe, you're in a good position because he had the guy turtled, right?
Yeah, so he went out there.
Front headlock.
He went out there. He was aggressive, sticking to his game plan. We talked about in the back what he wanted to do. It's either I'm going to do this. If that doesn't work, I'm going to do this. And one of those was try to get a snap down.
Yeah.
Because like with that much weight, if he makes that movement, just getting your head like down to his chest and then drops his weight on it, like you're not avoiding it. So he got the snap down. He was in like a front headlock position on him. I don't remember if he was like head and arm or if he had like both arms around the body under the armpits, but I saw the submission coming. And it's the hardest thing as a coach when you know it's coming. You're trying to tell them it's coming, trying to tell them what to do about it, but they haven't seen it before, and there's just no way they're going to do anything about it. It's the worst thing sitting there and watching. So the guy ended up getting him in a sneaky, like straight arm lock from bottom turtle. And it started off facing the side we were sitting on. I saw the guy was 2-on-1 isolating Matt's arm. I saw his arm getting straightened out. Then they like rolled through and ended up on the other side of us. So I couldn't see where they were when he finished it, but he essentially got him with a sneaky straight arm lock from bottom turtle.
Yeah, it looked like a far side armbar when it was wrapped up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely a sneaky setup. It was, it looked like not a surprise to that guy. Looked like something that he does.
For sure.
Which makes sense.
It was slick.
Being a smaller heavyweight, I'm sure he spends his share of time in bottom turtle and needs some sneak attack. So, I think Matt was doing awesome. I know that was the first time he had ever seen something like that, felt something like that. So, he just didn't have the knowledge to do anything about it. And now he does.
Yeah.
And he was in that position that he wants to be in, right?
Yep.
Which makes it that much harder. Like he wants to be in that chest on your back, like on the back of your head position, right? Like that's where he's going to drop that weight on you. So,
but it was cool. We got to the back room. We got back there first. His opponent got back a couple of minutes after us, and they both like ran over. And I look over, and they're on their hands and knees on the carpet floor. And the guy was showing Matt what he did to him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep,
He
seemed like a really cool guy.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, good.
I certainly took notes from that. I was like, okay, I'm not going to get caught in that.
Yeah, I was talking to Adam Nash, messaged me like that night or the next day or something, asking how all the matches went. I told him Matt got caught in some sneaky turtle shit that you probably do.
Yeah, dude. Adam's like a bowling ball.
Yep.
The second Adam Nash reference in this one podcast.
And then, so Marissa Bell was next. She was the second match on the main card.
Yep.
So she's competed even less than Matt.
Once,
right?
She did one grappling industries, and I think she had like 2 or 3 matches. Were you there?
I think she went 3-1, or maybe 3-0. I know she won most of her matches.
She didn't get gold, so I know she lost one at least.
Yeah, and she got a couple subs in her first tournament, which was pretty impressive.
But either way, it was, she's done one competition, and it was at white belt. So they told me they needed a female blue belt at, I think they said like 120 to 125. So Marissa Bell was still a white belt at the time. I just hit her up, what's your weight class? Do you want to do this match? She said, hell yeah. So we signed her up, and ultimately I ended up giving her blue belt a week before the match. Well deserved, of course, but she's brand new baby blue belt, and I don't know how long her opponent's been a blue belt. She could be not taking away her performance over, she's been a blue belt this long or that long. Marissa Bell has a very leg lock heavy game. Her leg lock game is getting really strong. And I was feeling confident that someone her size was going to have a really hard time keeping her off of their legs. We see the other girl warming up in the back, and she's wrestling a lot. She's got headgear on. I know the school she's from, have some friends at the school she's from, and they have a strong wrestling program. And I think she got sucked into the wrestling a little bit too much.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of stand-up for the first section of the match, for sure.
Yeah. And I my feeling on that is if you don't quickly recognize an opportunity to be able to take your opponent down, you might as well just pull guard and get to work. If you tie up with them and you're like, okay, this is close, it might go 3 or 4 minutes, but I'm pretty sure I can take them down, then it's going to be worth it to get on top. But if you go and exchange with somebody and you're just like, I'm outclassed in the wrestling, I personally have always felt like it's a waste of my time to keep trying to wrestle that person beyond, you might want to spend a minute to feel it out. But, it was her second competition, first big event. And I know she was nervous. She had a little bit of that deer in the headlights look going on. So she spent, it was probably half the match.
Yeah, it was a while.
Solid 4 minutes wrestling. And then I think she got taken down, right?
Yep.
I don't remember how she got to the ground.
I think she got taken down. Her opponent was just doing a lot of knee slice passing to dominant position. So, it was a similar routine to what was going on with your match. Her opponent was passing. She was having to spend a lot of her time recovering guard. And I don't think, did she get any good looks on the leg?
She almost got the leg. She was she had her foot on the hip. Her opponent was in like a sort of a combat base.
She couldn't get the heel.
Yeah. Yeah, it was close though. If she maybe with a hard reap, maybe. But I mean, she was pretty close.
Yeah, you're right. She did have a good opportunity. Her opponent did the right things to defend it. I don't think she got any more good chances and ultimately ended up losing by triangle, which she hung in there and fought for
she was in that triangle choke for like a minute.
Because I know there was a moment where I think the ref thought she might have been out because he went in there and
checked. Yeah.
He got in close and like hands on both of them to see what was going on. And because it wasn't just like triangle, it was like fully locked in, perfect angle.
Yeah,
her opponent was doing everything right, and she was just gritting it out. It was short time. I think it was under a minute left to go.
I certainly know, like, even in the gym, like, if I'm going to submit Marissa, I have to have to really mean it,
But I asked her after the match if she had fun, and she did. And, that's, to me, that's an important part, is you're getting into competition. If it's not fun at all, what's the point of doing it? Do you really care that much about the wins and the medals?
Right.
So she had fun. She already messaged me yesterday, the day after the event, telling me she wants in on the next one. So that's awesome.
That is cool.
Because before the match, she's like, I want to get this over with and never do it again. And I've shared that same feeling. Actually, almost every time I've competed, it's like the whole lead up to it. You're like, never doing this again. Never doing this again. They don't call me by this time. I'm leaving. And then like as soon as it's over, you're like, got to do this again.
Yeah,
whether you won and you want to ride that high again, or you lost and you're like, I have to get that back.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like has its claws in us as competitors.
Yeah, I definitely, I think for me more than anything, when I don't get like a medal or something, I'm like, man, I got to get back out there. But yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, some of the best training I've ever done is immediately coming off a loss.
Yeah.
It's like I have shit to work on. Not taking a day off. There's no better time to get back after it other than now.
Well, for sure, like when you lose, you actually have something real to work on. If you win like a quick, I don't know, 15 seconds
like,
sub
I'm
or
awesome.
whatever, you have nothing to work on, and then you don't really get better.
you want to like, especially when your teammates are bringing home medals, right? I remember walking past the wall of medals and being like, shit, I got to get something I can add on that, right?
Yeah.
Like, damn, I can't be the only schmuck who doesn't have one.
Some of these schools have been around for so long.
Yeah.
They just have more medals than they know what to do with.
Yeah. Yeah. But I remember, like, in the grand scheme of things, I could care less about medals, right? I really could care less. But that was a motivating factor. Was like, I can't be the only jackass who doesn't have a medal, right?
Yeah, I think logically speaking, I could care less. However, there is certainly that little bit of pride when you look at it. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But you got to balance it. I think everything's about balance.
Yeah. I remember getting like a second place medal out of 2 guys. I was like, dude, don't do this. Like, first of all, I'm not 12. I don't need a participation medal.
Take a picture on the podium.
Yeah, I was so disgusted. I was like, oh, this is like, I was more angry at my performance, and like, it just made it that much worse to get like a shitty medal on top of it. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, I remember I won a bronze medal. Actually, it was at an ammo event, a regular tournament run by these same guys. I got a bronze because my opponent got disqualified. He got me in a straight ankle lock, but reaping wasn't allowed. And just like the way he turned with the ankle lock, he got disqualified for reaping, even though I tapped. And they give me the bronze medal.
That's
and I see him after. I'm like, you want this?
Nice.
I'm like, I don't deserve this.
Yeah. Yeah, no thanks.
And he's like, I don't want that.
Yep. So Marissa Bell had fun. Sorry, I know we sidetracked there on my...
Yeah, she had fun. So that was awesome. She's, she was so excited and bubbly about the whole experience, even though she lost, which was awesome. Didn't get down on herself.
I thought it was a good match.
Yeah,
for sure. Went back and forth a little bit. She got to her game. Just things to work on.
Yeah,
just like my match.
At the end of the day, going into this, I knew we were bringing an experienced squad of competitors. This was the first event by this group, so a lot of our more seasoned competitors kind of hung back and didn't want to get in. We have a couple of guys that are injured, not ready to compete yet. So we went to the next tier of people that wanted to compete. So, I knew at least even though we tried to give everybody a fair match, there's always that chance that you're going to take some lumps when you might be going against more experienced competitors. And it's just how it plays out sometimes. So Bill was our final match of the night. Somehow Blue Belt Bill ends up being like
main card,
basically the co-main event. He was like the third from last match.
Yeah.
So it was almost 10 o'clock, 9:30, something like that.
It was pretty late.
Bill had to go to work at the hospital after. So Bill accepted a match against a guy that, he's also blue belt, but has quite a bit more, I'd say, that spotlight style of competition experience. He's done a lot of events like this where, you're the only match and everybody's watching you. He's done a bunch of this stuff, really strong wrestling background. So Bill took a tough match, and it's like, whatever. Competition should be tough, so do your best and get ready for it. And, we thought Bill's best chance of this was to attack the legs because that's what he likes to do. So
yeah,
did he get a chance at the legs? I know his opponent
didn't
attacked
get a
his
chance
legs
at the legs, really.
I know his opponent got in on Bill's legs, and he did a good job defending and escaping. I was most proud of Bill just for the determination he showed to keep competing and not give up on himself.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure going into it, he had this feeling that he was outmatched.
Oh,
and
really?
For me, it was going to be, the big test was, can Bill stay mentally strong enough to get through this match? And he did. So I was proud of him for, gutting it out like that. He escaped a ridiculously locked in triangle. I have no idea. Like, it was to the point where like, I can't help you, man.
There was also a moment where he was like in like a Kimura position, and I was just wincing.
He had like the,
oh my God.
He had the giant killer grip, the one arm Kimura. Yeah, I would have been tapping long before that. So
yeah.
good on him being young and flexible.
I think the team was like, again, like kind of from the stands, like the team was fired up for Bill to be out there, like doing his thing. Like I woke up the next morning with no voice, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, we were all just like, do your thing, Bill. Like, I mean, we were screaming and yelling. It was,
It was hard to corner that match because the place was pretty rowdy.
Mm.
So I don't know how much he was even hearing of what I was saying. I wasn't even giving him technical advice. It was just a lot of encouragement to, keep pushing. I know at one moment he was like dead the rights with a locked in rear naked choke on him. And they ended up in the ropes because, they were in like a 20 by 20 boxing ring, which is really too small for matches of this caliber. And they ended up on the edge in the ropes. The ref stopped it. In the back room, we were told, if you go into the ropes when you're standing, we're going to put you in the center standing. If you go into the ropes on the ground, we're going to try to reset you in the same position.
Yeah.
So like I see this stop, I'm like, all right, well, Bill's going to get reset in a fully locked in rear naked choke, and it's probably going to be over in a split second. I'm like, it sucks, but those were the rules. I agree with the rules. When I run events, I do the same thing.
Sure.
And so Bill goes out to the middle. He sits down, ready to give up his back, and the ref tells him to stand up, which I thought was crazy, and his opponent is a little upset about it, and I would be too. It was a raw deal for him, but that's not Bill's fault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, but Bill fought hard the rest of the match, and
so it went down. Bill lost a decision. And again, this wasn't one of those decisions where it's like, ooh, I think our guy got screwed. Like he clearly, no matter what criteria you're using, Bill lost the match, but I think it was a massive learning experience for him to get out there and get some experience in that next level of competition.
Yeah.
I think not just the physical next level that his opponent may have brought, but, having that much competition experience with the wrestling combined, it just adds a mental edge to it.
Yeah.
So I think Bill, people talk about getting the rub, just being in there with the good guys, you're going to benefit from it. So I'm excited. Bill took the loss like a man. His opponent's talking a little bit of shit online, which is whatever. Bill's taking it all in good heart. And I think this is going to be a massive motivation for him to keep training and get back out there again.
Yeah. Bill's got a lot of heart. He's a fiery competitor. And every time I've been out to a competition with him, I've definitely been like, man, this kid.
Right after the match, I was like, this is a breakthrough moment for Bill.
Yeah.
It's a loss. He pretty much got dominated. It is what it is, but he finally showed that mental toughness that I've been hoping to see out of him. So I think, now that he's figured out that edge, we can hone the physical and the technical. I think it's going to come together for him.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's still so young. He's only 21.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So the sky's the limit.
Yep.
Iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah.
Like those taking those lumps, he's going to be better for it. I mean, it's a shame that he's got to deal with the extracurricular stuff.
That's the day and age we live in, unfortunately.
I mean, I sent him a message yesterday, and I was like, don't let any space be rented in your head.
Yeah. You
do what you do.
Yeah, it's going to come with the territory as you keep competing at higher and higher levels. You either need to have a thick enough skin to just deal with it, or be diligent enough to just avoid all of it. Don't be browsing Instagram and looking for trouble, checking everybody's accounts. Like, if you know there's people that are going to be talking shit to you, just don't follow them. Don't set yourself up for it. But
it's like keeping junk food in the house.
Yeah.
If you keep junk food in the house, you're going to get fat.
Or if you do have a thick skin and you enjoy engaging in that shit, then that's your gym. It's not my gym. I don't have time for it. I don't have the headspace for it. All we can do is keep our heads down and train hard.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that from a coach's perspective, right? Like, I'm big on the culture, right? Like, if you guys didn't have a great culture here, I couldn't be in this gym, right? We've talked about this in earlier podcasts, right? Would you be pissed if you knew that, like, one of our dudes is out there talking shit for no reason?
Oh, yeah.
Disrespectful shit?
If someone on our team made that post about someone they compete against, we'd be having a discussion on if this team is a good fit for them or not. 100%. Because it's a reflection on all of us.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It does make me wonder when I see stuff like that, like what's that gym actually like?
Right.
What's that coach actually like? Like you let that happen. And it's not only the coach, right, Jameson, but it's like if you and I let that happen as teammates of somebody, right? Like in jiu-jitsu schools, like the assholes get weeded out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, like
so what
my
does that say
first
about
thought
us?
when I read that was, aren't you embarrassed? Like to go out there like after a win and like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's just me.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, people like to engage in some friendly, maybe not always friendly social media shit talking. And it is what it is. I'm not into it, but some people are. But yeah, there's definitely a line between just trying to talk some shit and being extremely disrespectful to a person and their entire team.
Yeah. Yeah.
That being said, though, I think we all have some good takeaways.
Yeah.
It's always fun to get out with like not the whole school, right? I mean, obviously, not everybody could possibly
It's
be
been
there.
so long since we've done something like that.
Dude, I'll tell you, when my match was over, I was so happy to grab my first beer.
Yeah.
I was like, yes.
I'm sure. It just felt good, right? It felt good to just be like out in the public, like a normal thing, right? And like it's cool to see like everybody just hanging out, talking, like, laughing, being stupid, right? It just felt good, like, because it has been so freaking long, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the last time that I was out with everybody was after the quintet.
Yeah, same.
Right.
That was a fun time.
Jameson messaged me the next morning asking if I had his commission from the ticket money, and my first thought is he must have woken up and checked his bank account from all the beers he was buying for everybody.
I said, or bail money. I don't know, right?
Or bail money. Yeah. Dude, I've never even been in trouble, like, at all like that. So that would be funny.
Yeah, overall, I mean...
You know what's funny, though, is I feel like most people bought me beers. Like,
okay, so you were giving me beers that other people were buying.
Well, no, I see, when I bought, so I probably bought like 2 or 3 rounds, right? And you just happened to, be fortunate enough to be one of the people I bought beer for.
Yeah, sure he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously we have some criticism of the event, but at the end of the day, they're providing opportunities for people to compete and showcase their skills. And, there haven't always been this many opportunities for us to get out there and compete, especially no-gi. When I, first started competing 10 years ago, there weren't a lot of competitions in general, let alone no-gi. So, the fact that we're getting these opportunities and they're trying to, put it on the big stage and give us some spotlight. I'm definitely appreciative, and I felt like I may have been a little harsh with some of my criticism, especially in my little tirade when we first got backstage. But if you don't tell people, they're definitely not going to change.
Yeah, before my match, I was like, don't tell Pat. My opponent's 20 pounds bigger than me. Don't tell Pat.
Yeah, Andrew came over and he was like whispering in everybody's ears. Like,
because in one of my conversations with them, I told them I may be the only one complaining right now, but the chatter in this room back here is all the same complaints.
Yeah,
the weights,
for sure.
The rules, the time limits, the lack of solid communication leading up to it. Like, all this is done over like Instagram posts. They make a public Instagram post. It's like, here's the rules. And one guy's like, I don't even follow their page.
Yeah.
So he had no idea going in. So hopefully I definitely know it was heard. So hopefully it gets implemented. It's a couple of months until the next event. We'll see what's up.
Yeah, I think, that being their first event of that type, nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things though, right? Like, I don't want to belabor the point, right? But there's certain things that if you're doing a grappling event that you have to nail, right?
Yep.
If you don't nail your lighting, yeah, like I'm going to notice that, right? But I'm like, I've done events, so I know, like, right? If you screw up somebody's walkout song, like most people don't care, right?
They'll be disappointed for 5 seconds.
Yeah, for 5 seconds, but for the most part, like nobody cares. It's it's like the mechanics, like the basic mechanics, right?
Yeah.
That you have to nail if you're going to be successful. All the other stuff is just like icing, right? But if you can't get weight classes and rules and referees on the same page, right? If you can't
just go compete at Naga.
right, yeah, there you go. I thought we weren't dropping names. But like, if like these are just things you have to get done. Like when you're looking at your list of stuff you have to do, those are the tops.
Yeah.
Because nothing else matters, right? Nothing else matters. Like if they were just like, oh, screw it. Like how often do I want to compete where I'm going to just not know what the rules are, right? Or I don't know that my opponent's going to be in the same weight class. Like those are just basic things. And you've got to nail those, or at least say like, hey, you know what, guys, I fucked up here, right? And the next time we'll make sure that these things are all taken care of.
Yeah, the rules are an easy one. Determine what the rules set is you want to use and tell everybody.
Right.
And people are going to come to you and complain. I've been on that side. They're like, oh, I don't feel comfortable with heel hooks. Well,
Don't sign
this
up.
isn't the event for you. Right? Time limit. It's easy. Make every match the same time limit, or make it a time limit per rank, and then it's uniform. The weights, I totally get it. It sucks to have to enforce the weights. You're the person at the scale. You feel like an asshole when someone comes in heavy and you're like, go lose it or your match is off.
Yeah, I mean that's part
Or
of it, right?
go ask your opponent if they're cool with it.
Right.
So it's hard. You gotta stand there and draw the line and back it up.
But every other tournament does it.
Yep.
Right? Like every tournament is going to make you weigh in. Everybody who's competing knows they have to make weight at some point, right?
For sure.
So I don't know, that part of it just disappoints me. It's like that's the most basic stuff to get done, and it's not like this is a promotion that has never done events before,
Yeah.
right? Like
Right.
you know some of those basic
They
things.
run pro MMA fights.
Right. So, you just that's a disappointing part to me. Like the other stuff, like you and I were talking about, like, oh, this could be cool if you did this part of the presentation side of it, right? But again, that stuff doesn't matter unless you actually get the mechanics of the actual fights down.
Yeah.
So I told the team, we'll give it a week to cool down, and then we'll make a decision as a team. If everyone wants to go and compete again, I'm happy to support. If everyone's like, nah, I don't want to deal with that, then we'll find something else. But right now it's sounding like everyone's ready to get back out there and get a little bit of redemption.
Super convenient location,
So
too.
next one's supposed to be in Holyoke. We have some guys from Holyoke, so they're pumped. Now, if we run into the same stuff at the second event, then we know it's just not going to get better. So, I'm willing to give a benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. And then we start rolling out the master plan for the world's greatest
Yeah, we're going to take over.
MMA and jiu-jitsu show.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was messaging Travis this morning, some stuff on the event. And he's like, so we need to dust off the Radius Invitational? I believe we do.
Yeah, I was telling you,
That'd
like
be fun.
I have some friends who've worked in like big time event planning in Boston, and I was sending one of the guys like some pictures, and he was like, "What the hell is that?" Right? Like, so I was telling him, like, giving him kind of play by play, and he was just like, it was like kind of blowing his event planning mind, right?
Yeah.
But he was like, "Let me know when you guys are ready to go." Like,
It's a lot of work, right?
yeah,
So there was somewhere around 30 matches. So you're dealing with 60 people and trying to keep straight. And they're going through email, Facebook messages, Instagram messages, multiple people from the promotion, which I think is where a lot of the lines got crossed. It's a lot of work. That's why I like doing, when we did the team challenge, it was a piece of cake. We had 8 teams, us and 7 others. So I only had to deal with 7 people because I just told them, whichever person reached out to me first, I'm like, all right, you're team captain. I'm going to funnel everything through you. So it was so easy. It was like one group message, just disseminate the information.
yeah,
And we had no problems.
yeah,
Decentralized command.
Exactly.
yeah, right.
Yeah. If you want to bring a team, bring a team.
Yeah.
Figure it all out. I'm not calculating weights for you. I don't care if this guy weighs this, that, and the other. You're responsible for coming with a team that's on weight. And they all did. We had 0 problems.
Yeah, I thought about that afterwards. I was like, I would do this on a much smaller scale, much more specialized, or more, like you just take the cream of whoever you wanted in there.
Yeah.
So when Travis and I did the Radius events, we did 3 of them. We did the first 2. We just did an 8-man bracket, EBI rules, sub only, cash prize, with a few special matches in between. And I think the third one we did a 16-man bracket. So yeah, it's much smaller sample size of people to deal with.
I like it.
Yep.
Fun stuff, though.
Yeah,
For sure.
The work is hard, right? We were talking about that. Like,
so much work.
Is the juice worth the squeeze when it all comes down to it, right?
That's why I told this promotion, even after all of my complaints, I'm like, I really appreciate what you guys are dealing or what you're doing and dealing with who knows how many people like me blowing up your messages, in your face complaining about shit. It's a thankless job. But if you get more things right, you'll get some things.
Yes.
Yeah. I definitely think when you pull off a really good event, though, people remember it.
I get random messages and comments on a regular basis of people that were spectators at our last event here saying, when are you doing another one? That was so much fun to watch. I want to come again.
Yeah. And then we got a really good video guy who did a sweet highlight video for that.
Yeah, he was pretty dope.
He was pretty dope.
You can find that on YouTube, by the way, listeners.
Yeah.
Yep. Springfield 5-on-5 highlight.
That's right. We'll embed the link.
Yeah, see the link underneath.
One of these
Does it
links.
go above or does it go below?
Yeah.
We'll decide that. I'll look to see whose finger looks best when I do the edit of this, and we'll put it under their
Yeah,
finger.
there you go.
Yeah.
So you want to talk a minute about the term super fight?
Oh.
I think this is going to be a podcast episode on its own. I was having a little debate back and forth with Audra from Black Belt Magazine who came out here because I had made a post about this on my Instagram, I think, and so she commented, and she's fairly new to jiu-jitsu, so we were sharing opinions on it. So my heartburn with the term super fight is, let's break it, let's cut it in half. We're not fighting. And I don't get too mad about calling it a fight. That bothers me a bit on its own. But like if you say, I'm fighting this guy, I'm not going to like interrupt and correct you every time, but I'm not going to use the term fight. It's a match. I grew up wrestling. It's very similar. It's a match. And other than like Gordon Ryan versus Andre Galvao, are any of these matches super?
Well, depends on who you ask.
Or is it just a match? Why can't it just be a match? Jiu-jitsu is so against just having an event of matches.
The term super fight becomes anything that's not a tournament style match.
Like I said, I come from the wrestling background where it's the same format. You're having a match.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, really what it's about is just making it feel bigger than it is.
Exactly.
And, but I mean,
it sounds so much cooler to post on your Instagram that you have a super fight coming up.
Yeah, but I mean,
instead of just saying, "Hey, come watch my match."
Why not just live in a world where it's important?
I get it. Yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna fight people about it. But if anyone ever wants to discuss it, I enjoy discussing it.
See, you can certainly draw a line though, because while you can live in a world where it's important because it's important to you and important to the people close to you, you definitely can get a little bigger than you should be, and I think just checking your ego and recognizing that perhaps even though it's a super fight to you, it's not a super fight to everybody.
Yeah. So Audra and I, when we were talking about it, I told her I want to get her in here to podcast about it and then get somebody in the fourth seat that feels strongly the opposite that I do. Because she's, like I said, she's new to jiu-jitsu, so she's just trying to take it all in for her knowledge and see why I feel the way I feel, why other people would feel the way they feel. So I don't know who that person is yet that feels strongly that it should be a super fight, but I'm sure we can find somebody.
Yes, I love it.
It'll be a fun debate.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. The whole thing about super fight, to me, the people who care about it being a super fight, like you were saying, are the same ones that are out there feeding the ego game of jiu-jitsu, right? Do you really care if we called a super fight or a match? You personally?
See, I have mixed opinions about it because I totally get the logical, it's not that important in the grand scheme of things. And if you want to pursue that line of argument with just about anything, then nothing matters. You can just say the entire existence is pointless. However,
Tyler Durden right now.
Yeah, but
Did you go
I
to school
think
for philosophy
I
by any chance?
I read it for fun. But I think anything in life is meaningful because we decide it's meaningful. And, the super fight's a chance for somebody to display what they've been working on. It's like their art of passion. And this is what they're passionate about. And they're going out and they're like, this is what I've worked so hard on. And it's a chance to have some sort of recognition and find some sort of external validation, which is what we all want.
So do you think that as a fan of jiu-jitsu, let alone someone who trains, that your feeling towards that match would be any different if I called it a super fight versus a match? You know what I mean? Like, I get what you're saying. Like, that match in itself is important, right? And you're making it important.
It depends on if I know you and I know what your intent of making that statement is. So, like, if I don't know you and it sounds like you're trying to downplay something that I care about, then I'm probably going to take offense. However, if I know you and I know you're trying to be logical and practical about it, then, I'll reason with you and I'll be like, you know what, you got a point.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
We can talk about that for a while,
that's
right?
going to be a good one.
Yeah.
We can do an hour easy on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
I think that covers it.
Just we're breaking on the longest podcast ever. So,
We're
Jameson,
over an hour.
not only did you take you a long time to get here, but when we finally cracked open the can, you have participated in the longest Thanks for Rolling podcast to date.
And you didn't even ask me the standard questions you ask all your guests. Guess you're going to have to have me
snap.
on again.
Yeah. This is a little
This is a
one-off.
special episode.
Special episode. Yeah, even
Dang.
better. Mm-hmm. Plus, I already know the answer to the question, right?
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, maybe you'll change
Maybe
it.
you don't.
Switch it up.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, next time you
Perhaps
come on,
I'll surprise you.
maybe next time you come on, we'll have a curveball for you.
All right. Look forward to it.
Cool. Oh, you know what I do want to say? I'm sorry. I'm going to back us up. What's the name of this podcast?
Thanks for rolling.
What's the logo?
Interesting.
It's not in here.
It's not in here.
Is there a logo?
Yeah. It's two
Fist
fist
bumps.
two fist bumping, right?
That's good.
And like I was thinking about that today, and like the respect thing that we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
and how like when we wrap this podcast up, we say thanks for rolling, right? We're not really rolling in here, right? But that's kind of the brotherhood of training jiu-jitsu, right? And we all bump hands, slap fists, or sorry, that's amazing. Slap hands, bump fists, right? Like that's part of the game, right? And I just feel like that is something that is like an important part of jiu-jitsu, let alone like what we're talking about here or what we're doing here, but like that's a symbol, right?
Yep.
And it disappoints me when I see like that not being taken to heart.
We can talk pretty deeply about that in itself. Just the type of connection that you get with people in jiu-jitsu. What that slap bump symbolizes. It's sort of like a brotherhood and shared suffering.
Yeah.
Because it sucks when you're mounted by somebody Matt's size
It's
and
going to suck tonight.
T-shirts
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot.
smothering you.
There's gonna be a lot of chosen violence tonight, I think.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I just wanted to bring that up. Like, it just
Yeah.
made me think of that when we were talking about the respect and like how we built this podcast to talk about like that brotherhood side, right? That like
Yeah.
people side of jiu-jitsu. So
Well, I certainly think that that's one of the main draws, especially for me, is just all the people that I've met. I think, this place that Pat has built fulfills me in my social life in a big way. And I value that,
yeah, me too.
and I recognize that.
Yep, me too. Amen.
Awesome.
All right, guys,
All right.
we're out.
Thanks for rolling.
Thanks for rolling.
rolling.